What about steak au poivre? Big, thick strip steaks sauteed with black pepper, wild mushrooms, herbs, brandy, and cream, and I'm telling you, it is off the chart. Now, we're using New York strips, which are also called strip steaks or shell steaks. If you notice, I pulled them from the back counter instead of pulled them from the fridge. This is a kind of an old restaurant technique, but if you actually let steaks come to room temperature before you actually start to sear them, right, you're gonna get a really beautiful golden color on the outside instead of letting them steam and stew. So if you leave it at room temperature, just to kind of warm up just a little bit, before you put them in the pan, it's gonna make a big difference. All right, we're gonna flip them over, all right, and we're gonna season the other side. This is steak au poivre, which means steak with pepper. All right, great. All right, then we're gonna take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. All right, we're gonna add it to our saute pans here. And when we get a nice little shimmer, a little bit of smoke, we're in good shape and we're ready to go. All right, great. I just love the smell of like grassy green olive oil when it hits a hot saute pan. It smells fruity and fresh. It's really nice. And we're just gonna take our steaks, okay? We're gonna drop them in. Now you notice I'm sort of spreading out the cooking process between two saute pans. Right, because if you overcrowd the pan, again, you're going to start to steam instead of sear. If you've ever had the privilege to go to Paris, it's one of the best culinary experiences you'll ever have. The food's phenomenal, the city's really beautiful, and they call it the City of Lights for a reason, because at night it's just so romantic and great. This is going to be beautiful. It smells phenomenal already. All right, we're going to make a wild mushroom sauce to go with the steak au poivre. And I've got some really beautiful mushrooms here. Now, they call them wild because they're not domestic button mushrooms. And what we have here is some really beautiful chanterelles. They almost taste like chestnuts. They have a very nutty, earthy flavor to them. And we also have oyster mushrooms. It almost looks like a fresh oyster, if you see that. Right? Isn't that great? So you're going to take these guys and then take a towel and you just want to brush them off. You never want to put them in water. They're not going to saute very well. They're going to get really mushy really quick. So give them a good brush. We're going to take these oyster mushrooms and we're just going to cut the fat stem off right at the very bottom. And then we're just going to break them in little pieces. And then the chanterelle mushrooms, I think we're just going to leave whole. I think they look really beautiful and they're very organic, really natural. So I'm going to take these guys and kind of chop them up. All right, the steaks cook up really quick. I'm sure we can probably give these guys a little flip. Ready to take a look at this? It's the ultimate bistro steak. Ready? Now that is a thing of beauty. All right, so we got 4 beautiful bistro steaks, lots of cracked black pepper on top of them. Ooh la la, black pepper. All right, we're gonna take these guys off. All right, we're gonna let them rest. Now, there's a great thing when you're cooking steaks called carry-over temperature, right? So these things are really piping hot. All right, they're medium rare right now. I want them more of a medium temperature, but they're still gonna continue to cook. All right, now we're gonna throw in the mushrooms. Again, we've got great oyster mushrooms and chanterelle mushrooms that we just simply brushed off, and we're gonna put it into the pan, and we're gonna let them soak up all those really beautiful beef juices. Now let them soak up some of that grape flavor. And they're gonna begin to caramelize, you're gonna taste delicious. Because when you talk about classic French cooking, it's about taking very simple ingredients and giving them 1 or 2 cooking steps, and they're really phenomenal. So I'm gonna wet them with a little bit of fresh olive oil, and just gotta let them cook down and do their thing. They're talking to me. They're telling me they're in good shape. They're really happy right now. They look really good. All right. So like a medium-high temperature, and just let the mushrooms go. We don't want to sort of kind of jiggle them around too much because I actually want them to have some great contact time with the bottom of the pan. All right. Okay, so we've got our beautiful mushrooms here. I'm going to take our chopped up garlic, all right, and our fresh thyme, and I'm going to add just a nice little sprinkle into both pans. Now, this is perfect if you think about classic French cooking because they layer flavors as they go, as they cook. Right, if I added the garlic right at the very beginning, it would probably burn by now. But the mushrooms have developed a deep flavor, and now we're just going to stack up one more great taste, really kind of give this sauce some lift. So those are cooking. I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil to both these, and also some salt because we haven't seasoned these guys yet either. So a little kosher salt on top, a little fresh cracked pepper. And just kind of let these guys just sort of simmer away for a second. Got some tongs. All right, saute these around. Saute these around. All right. I'm gonna take the mushrooms and just kind of pile them up, okay? And now, if you can see in the bottom of this pan, there's some really great sort of drippings from the steak and also from the mushrooms. I'm gonna actually deglaze this with some brandy. I have a bottle of French brandy. All right, this is like a little safety note. I don't want this anywhere near the flame, okay? So when the pan's nice and hot, all right, it's almost there. All right, we're gonna take the pan away from the heat, okay, away from the flame. We're gonna take the bottle, we're gonna go over here in the corner. I'm gonna add about a half a cup of brandy. See how hot this is? okay? All right, I'm gonna take it to the flame here. I'm gonna light it up, okay? Now don't be afraid. It's kind of cool when people come over and see you flame something like this. It's gonna take about a second or two to kind of burn off, and what we're gonna have left is a really sweet, delicious, almost caramelized grape flavor. All right, so while we got our tower and fern over here in the corner, now take a look at the brandy here. The brandy's cooked down to just basically a tablespoon of really intense flavor. Now to that, I'm gonna add some heavy cream. All right, and we're gonna pull up that great flavor from the mushrooms, all right, everything else. Give it a little swirl, and I'm gonna take that, pour it right on top. Okay, that's gonna cook down, it's gonna simmer. And they've got a great wild mushroom sauce, all right, which is gonna go on top of the steak. All right, grab myself a little spoon here. All right, delicious wild mushrooms that we deglazed with brandy and some cream. We got some fresh thyme in there. It's gonna go right on top. And this is delicious, I'm telling you. One of the best meals you'll ever have when you garnish it up with some fresh thyme. All right, and that is how they have dinner in a very comfortable setting in the City of Lights. So if you can't go to Paris, you can bring Paris to you by trying this recipe, because it's really delicious. I promise you're gonna love it. All right, take a big bite of that. I got some steak with some peppercorns. Got a little bit of mushrooms on top. I've been thinking about this all day. Sensational.